Welcome to the Happy Bones, Happy Life podcast. I'm Margie Bissinger, a physical therapist and integrative health coach, and I am your host and guide on our journey to discover the keys to stronger bones, more happiness, and the secrets to live your best life ever. From nutrition to stress, from exercise to happiness, you will gain revolutionary insights from our leading experts. It is time for you to discover the health and happiness you deserve. Hey, Margie here. Did you ever wonder how just connecting to your inner wisdom can radically affect your health? Well, today we are delving into how love, relationships, and our intuition can affect every area of our health. Our special guest, Razi Berry, is an award-winning speaker and the publisher of naturopathic medicine journals for over 14 years. And we're talking about love is medicine. And Razi's going to share some simple exercises that we can all use to start reconnecting to our inner wisdom. So stay tuned. Welcome, Razi. I am so excited to have you here. I absolutely love our topic today. Love is medicine, and it's just so powerful, and you have so much amazing information to share that I really appreciate you taking the time and being here with all of us. So thank you so much.
Oh, Margie, that's so generous. I'm really honored to be here, so I appreciate your time.
And you know, you have such an amazing story, and it's so powerful. And when I heard it, I was so touched. And sometimes it's nice so that the listeners understand your background and why you're so passionate about a lot of the things you're going to be talking about today. So if you would just share with us a little bit about your story and how it starts a long time ago. So why don't you share that? Let's start that way so they understand where you're coming from.
A long time ago, would that be 30 some years ago, when I was 14 years old, I was in the hospital. I was dying of heart failure here in the Phoenix Children's Hospital, and our family priest came and did the last rites ceremony, which is kind of like your baptism of death, right? It's a sacrament given to those that are dying. So it was a very grave time in our history, my family's history. And during that time, my mother, on one particular day, a few days after that sacrament had been given, my mom had come in with my siblings and to visit. And I heard the doctor say, you know, Miss Berry, this is such a shame because she's doing it to herself. And Margie, when I heard that, like I somehow heard that, and I felt so much shame. You know, I felt so much shame, and it was so, I just remember it being so exquisitely full. And in that moment, I remember thinking, like, I just want to die. Like, I didn't feel like fighting. I just wanted to die. It's almost like the shame was more painful than anything else. And then, so as soon as I kind of articulated that in my mind, or where's my soul, I was suddenly in this space above, like in the ceiling, looking down on my mom, and I remember my little brother and the doctor. And it was, I couldn't really figure out what was going on. It was just kind of a unique point of view. And I felt like my mom's pain. And then suddenly that triggered me to be in this space of light. Now, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in God. And so when sometimes people think the word near-death experience is like against God or something, but all I can say is the experience that I had. I was in this light, and I was just filled with a feeling of love and this kind of restful knowing that everything was okay. And it reframed the whole experience for me, that really love was all around me, and that shame I felt was really coming from the fact that everybody around me just wanted to love me. And I had this realization that I hadn't been loving myself. Wow. How can you be loving yourself if you're not nurturing and nourishing yourself? And I was so detached, right? There's so many diseases we can talk about in a minute that come from this detachment, where we're not fully living in our bodies and self-aware and taking care of it. So anyway, I had this amazing experience, And then suddenly I was back in that room. And Margie, I healed. My heart healed, and I healed from the eating disorder. And so, and I still to this day feel so grateful and moved, even by just telling that really short version of the story, because I had been taught in my early life that when you're sick, the doctor does something to fix you. And that's always what happened, right? The doctor gave me a shot or a pill or something. But in this case, that's not what happened. So I thought, well, how did I heal? So I had that question in my mind, kind of tucked in the back of my head. And I think that's what led me to do the work that I do now, which is publishing 2 naturopathic medical journals. I founded one, which is called Naturopathic Doctor News and Review, in 2005. So we're in our 15th year of publication. I publish cases from naturopathic doctors all over North America and really the world. And we're just in relaunch of the International Journal of Naturopathic Medicine. And of course, I've got my sites for the consumer, naturopath.net. But it's what led me to that, I believe, is this idea in natural medicine and naturopathic medicine that healing is within. It's that vital life force. Some people say it comes from God, or just they say nature. But it's the truth of who we are. We're constantly growing. Cells are replicating. The sun is shining, giving us information, and the light and dark cycles of the earth are mediating our hormones and neurotransmitters. And there's just such an orchestra of love all around us. So I started this fun little movement called the Love is Medicine movement. And that's kind of in short how I got started with doing that work.
It's so amazing. I mean, talk about miracles. What a story. And you're not making this up. This is not something that we make up. It happened. And I see this. I've been, for over 30 years, I've seen the concepts of love and happiness and all sorts of, when people incorporate that, it changes everything. And really, it has the power to change our bones, to change every aspect of healthcare. And so what would you say? I mean, because you've been doing this almost 15 years, publishing, as you said, over 2,000 case studies. What were your biggest takeaways from this experience?
Yeah, so in research, right, things are done kind of in a controlled environment, right, in a research study. And there's a lot of wonderful things that come from that. But we don't live in a controlled environment. And so what I like about the cases is that cases are real life doctor to patient situations. So there might be more, there's more than one case of cancer, more than one case of osteoporosis, more than one case of diabetes. Yet each person had a unique story there. But I noticed 3 patterns. There was always some sort of mind, body, like emotional component to everyone. Everyone. And there's 3 areas I found that we disconnect, 3 relationships we disconnect from, that I feel is this cause that if we don't address it, we're in a lot of trouble, because we have so much amazing science and technology at our feet, at our fingertips, but the statistics aren't lowering. Chronic diseases continue to rise. Even though everything we know now about the microbiome and the genome and the connectome and our brain and our immune system, chronic diseases are still on the rise. Depression is on the rise. Suicide is on the rise. Dementia and Alzheimer's, all these diseases are on the rise. And so I believe that our science isn't going to really move the needle unless we marry it with the connecting back to these 3 relationships. And the first one is your relationship to nature. And I kind of touched on that, but we were born into this beautiful ecosystem, and everything around us is like a software program helping our bodies, our cells, our inner intelligence make decisions that take us to health. Every cell, we know about the internal clock in our brain that's connected to like light and dark cycles, but every cell in our body has a peripheral clock. Even the microbiome has one, and it actually moves in a certain direction during different hours of the day. They found like along a cell. So the earth is something that we need, and we've totally separated ourselves from that. Those of you listening, have you stepped outside today at all? Have you stepped outside into your natural habitat at all? People take cigarette breaks if they're smokers. Please don't do that. But how many of us go out and take just a non-cigarette break where we're just plugging back into light, to the Earth's biofield, to the oxygen and other things that we haven't even discovered yet in the air that are part of our natural habitat? How often do we eat food that's not from the earth? So we're giving our cells a bad program of information. And then we come to this point in our lives where we wonder, how did we end up with poor bone density? How did we end up with inability to sleep? How did we end up with diabetes? And I found that we often know that there were things we should have done differently to love ourselves more. The next one is relationships to each other. We just live in a way where we're just so disconnected. I mean, we're able to connect like this, Margie, and it's so great. But there are so many things that happen, even physiologically, when somebody touches you while talking, just touching you on the shoulder, or gazing right into somebody's eye in real life. There's brain-to-brain entrainment that happens, or there's functional connectivity that increases your own self-awareness, or oxytocin increases when somebody makes eye contact with you. Hearing your own name has been studied to increase this self-awareness and this ability to better hone in on interoceptive abilities, which is the ability to kind of sense your gut feelings, so to speak. So we're kind of really detached. Children kind of leave their parents' side at too early of an age. They're taken they go to school kind of too soon. And there's just so many ways that we disconnect. And then it's the most important one is your relationship with yourself. And that's where a lot of these diseases happen. Like you can't, like a really self-aware person who's rooted in self-love is not going to do what I did and starve yourself into an eating disorder or eat themselves into diabetes. I'm so sorry, real life happening.
No problem.
or treat a child in a way that will traumatize them and that one day they will develop an autoimmune disease. So it's such, science is so miraculous and amazing, and technology. What I'm talking about are just kind of these simple shifts that aren't really rocket science, but they're so important to who we are. We're so centered right now in this like health hack mindset of trying to like fake it or somehow trick nature and trick our bodies into healing. But really what we need to do is come back to more of our humanity. And that's those three areas I talked about. I call them love.
And what's so amazing and I find so fabulous about this is that when we do these things, and we're going to go into more details, but when we do these things, it is amazing. Just as you said, what happens? I saw that really early on in my career as a physical therapist, when starting to incorporate some of these concepts, even self-love, different things, muscles would change, chronic back pain, chronic neck pain, right in front of my eyes would start getting better. And it was just so early on, I found that as well. And I think I love how you divided them up because each of them has such a big role. And so, is that what you're meaning when you say love is medicine? Is that what you're incorporating?
Yes, exactly what I mean. It's these small shifts in attitude that we take towards our environment, each other, and ourselves. It helps us change the needle in every decision that we make. How do you start your day? Do you start your day getting torn out of sleep from an alarm instead of going to bed early enough so your body's natural rhythms wake with the sun? Are you driving through something quickly and getting a bunch of sugary processed food? What kind of program is that giving your cells how to act throughout the day, or your child to start the day at school? Are you paying attention to your need to rest during the day or take a break or connect with someone? It's just these small decisions that we make that are like any mathematical equation. They add up and they multiply, and they either result in health or result in dis-ease. And that could be just subtle things like just ignoring your own needs or not being honest with yourself.
Razi, you talk about intuition. I know you've talked a lot about intuition. And you always say that tuning into your intuition is the best way really to evaluate different health information that you might be exposed to. So can you delve into that? Because I think that's such a great concept, and it's something we can all use in our lives. And it's very powerful because most of us, unfortunately, don't do that, and we don't even realize how valuable it can
Yes.
be. So why don't you give us some information on that?
Intuition is a powerful word because it can really polarize people. People either feel a real affinity for it, like, yes, I'm really in tune to my intuition, or people think it's like ridiculous psychic phenomenon. And my experience is that it, just like animals have instincts, we all have an intuition. It's part of our physical body. It's not just something in our mind or in our mental space. It's our bodies are these amazing, intricate, and beautiful sensory receptors. They're taking in information at all times in ways that are known to us, visible to us, and also hidden from us. So we all know that we can see, smell, taste, touch, and hear things. And we use this information to make decisions throughout our day. But what we don't realize is there's also some hidden areas of perception that are always working that we don't always pay attention to. We just haven't been taught to. One is, I touched on a minute ago, it's called interoception. And interoception is the scientific word for kind of really feeling and understanding your internal body cues. Now, a real basic example of that might just be something like hunger or thirst or arousal. But we've been so taught to not listen to our intuitive senses, not listen to our gut feeling. There's study after study about this, of people, of doctors who have a gut feeling about something, but they ignore it because science tells them to not factor that into the equation. Or I bet everyone listening has had times, even just this week, where they've said to themselves, I knew it. I knew I should have, or I knew I shouldn't have. And when that's actually a gift, because when you realize that, you start to realize, I'm not listening to my intuition, but it's there. It's always there. Now, other aspects of taking in intuition is, one is called chemosensing. And there are chemical signals that are given off by other people, by animals, plants, and food at all the time. An example of this are pheromones. So pheromones are kind of not really largely understood, but they are a hormone that we detect with our olfactory sense. And it communicates so much information to us. And animal studies show that chemical signals from another animal can give us information like the age, the fertility, the sex. We even know that you can actually smell fear, and that hormones are partly mediated by our olfactory sense. So sometimes you get a feeling or a thought about something. This feels right, this doesn't feel right. And chances are that you're taking in visual clues, but also you're taking in these other senses, olfactory clues. You're feeling something in your body, and we just ignore that. Or we say, oh, intuition is just all in our head. So if we really detox our environment from chemicals and we strengthen these senses that we have, you'll find you'll become sharper and sharper at listening to and following your intuition.
And it's really quite amazing, because when you do that, and it's a muscle, you need to,
Yes.
the more you challenge it and the more you pay attention, the more you really get feedback. And once you start living like that, it's amazing. I've been working on this for many, many years, and also with clients I work with. And it's just so incredible how you do get information. And it feels right. You really, you just know. It's not as though you're guessing any longer.
How often are you working with a client and they're saying to you, oh, I was golfing and then my hips and elbows started hurting, and as you start talking to them more, you get this sense that there's something deeper, right? There's something deeper going on. And most doctors that I ask this question to, or most clinicians I ask this question to, they always have a deeper intuition. And often you could probably say the same thing to your client. You could, if somebody says, hey, Margie, I don't understand, I'm doing this and that, like, why am I having this symptom? You could turn to them and say, well, why do you think? And we often have a keen sense. Now, of course, we need science and we need guidance from people and professionals to help us go through this. But often we kind of already know the things that we need to start doing and the things that we need to stop doing to really make that change so we can heal, so we can feel good again.
I love that. And what are what would be some simple exercises that if people really, because a lot of people are disconnected. And I remember when I first started working as a physical therapist, and you were so busy, I was shoving food in for lunch and you're just really getting through your day. And I can so understand that they're almost, you forget about listening to your intuition because you're so busy. But what are some good exercises that everybody maybe could use to begin to start reconnecting to their inner wisdom?
Yes, there's one very subtle exercise that you can do wherever you are. You can do it at work, you can do it at school, you can do it anywhere. And I call it a self-awareness check-in. And it's kind of like a meditation, but I don't really love meditation. I know meditation's good for you, but I don't love to do it. But instead of having to like close your eyes and take a deep cleansing breath, no, Margie, you can do wherever you are. You keep your eyes open. Like we'll do one right now.
Okay, let's go. I love it.
Okay, so our eyes are open and we're just breathing normally. And then we just start noticing all of what is surrounding us. So let's start with light. Like for me, there's a window in front of me and to the right. And so I'm noticing where light is coming in. And I'm feeling like, do I feel that light? Is it warm because it's still late summer here? So we notice that with our eyes and then we start to expand our visual field and like really notice who we are in this room, who we are in this kind of greater environment, in our neighborhood or in our office or in our school. So we kind of just become aware of the colors that we see. And I notice like if I look at your red shirt, it feels different to my eye than if I look at your white wall. And that's because little muscles in our eye are changing as we do that. So we just keep breathing normally with our eyes open. And then we notice like our posture. How are we sitting? How is the chair supporting us? Is your belt too tight? Or do you notice now where you're sitting, maybe you have to maybe you drank too much coffee or water and you need to go to the bathroom. Maybe your legs are crossed and you notice that like one of your legs is starting to go slightly numb. Maybe your shoe needs to be tightened or something. So we just notice. We just simply notice. Then we start feeling more within. How does our body feel right now? Like is my jaw tight? Is my throat open? What is the sensation in my stomach? Am I hungry? Did I eat too much? And you just feel all the sensations in your body and you don't judge them. But if you do feel something that's not really comfortable, you can kind of ask yourself, why am I feeling this? And what would I do to address that? What do I need to do to change? Or what is my body asking me to be aware of? And that is really the entire exercise. And I'll tell you why it is so powerful. When I started doing those, I actually set a timer on my phone and I would do one every hour. And I'm not saying you have to do it that often, but I trained myself, Margie, to really start getting out of my head and back into my whole body. My head is just one part of my body, but I lived so much in my head. And what that taught me to do is when I pay attention to the subtle things around me, I start to think more of patterns and larger things and realizing changes in my environment or changes in my life, or just being more aware of what's happening to me and what I'm feeling. And then it translates into larger and larger aspects. So when you just take this time every day to do this simple exercise, you're able to be more attuned in every situation. So now when I have conversations with people, I notice like, am I really trusting them right now? Am I feeling good around them right now? Is my body feeling a little anxious, like I wish this meeting would end? Or am I feeling like really wanting to lean into it? And I notice it when I'm driving or when I'm working. It helps me decide, is this a person I want to do this deal with? Is this a person I want to go on a second date with? Am I taking the right route? Should I take another road? Like I really can check in now. And it's one simple shift. Another exercise is something that's actually been studied to increase your interoceptive awareness. It's super fun and simple, and it's called power posing.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so power posing, one that I think is super fun is you can sit back like in a chair, let's say at a desk or table, and put your feet up and put your hands behind your head. And you just sit in this kind of authoritative, all-knowing feeling that like everything, I've got control of everything. Another one is you can stand up and put your hands on your hips or on your waist, and you sit erect with your posture, and you put a kind of a smile on your face, and it's kind of this feeling like I've got this. And there are a few others, and you can make up your own. My daughters and I like to make them up, but it has been studied to actually increase your interoceptive sensitivity. And people that have better interoceptive sensitivity, a better state of feeling what they're thinking, they make better decisions. They make more money. They have less regret. And so those are two just really fun and simple ways that you can get started to kind of check into your intuition.
You know, those are so great because as a physical therapist, I miss posture, and posture is such an important part of everything I teach and do. And that, you know, those power poses are putting you in an open, expanded posture. And open, expanded posture is when, I mean, that's what I always tell everyone, does it feel open and expanded, or do you feel contracted? And that's a good way to also check in, and just exactly what you said with those power poses. And it makes such a difference because we so often are busy and we just don't check in with our body. So I love that exercise, and you can do it with your eyes open anywhere. That is really, really terrific, Razi. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That is great. So in terms of relationships, I know that's very important. And how do our relationships affect everything? Our biology, our psychology, physiology, even our consciousness. I mean, how is it that our relationships are that paramount and have such a big effect in all these areas?
It's so amazing. Well, first of all, as you know, we are designed and wired to connect. Some years back, there was this term popularized, and I'm in agreement with some more recent like relationship and psychology experts that think that it's an overused term, and that is codependency. Codependency does exist, and it's when you enable someone else's bad behavior. But now what happens is people, especially women who are really trying to have deep, meaningful connections and maybe aren't getting that, but continue to try, they're often mislabeled, in my estimation and of others, as being codependent. We are social animals. And yes, relationships affect our biology in so many ways. For instance, but it depends on the quality of the relationship. So for instance, there have been studies that show that children that are exposed to aggression when they're young, they have higher incidences of inflammatory disease, depression, anxiety, and higher incidence of all these different illnesses that come from that: cardiovascular disease, diabetes. And we know that affection can modulate some of those, but the sad thing is that aggression is more damaging to a child and their future health than affection will mediate it. So does that make sense? It's like you can't just treat a child, or you can't be just treated poorly when you're a child and then suddenly the next minute they're affectionate. It doesn't counteract it. So the quality of our relationship. So if we're someone who throughout our childhood, maybe we were in a relationship that was not so warm, not so loving, and we find ourselves in these patterns, it's really important to move towards relationships that offer more empathy. Touch has been known to dramatically reduce pain. This has been done in post-surgical studies. It's been done during labor. But the interesting thing is, it's only if that partner is someone you have an empathic relationship with. So if you are in pain, or acute pain, and this can translate to chronic pain too, but you're not in a relationship where there's real empathy between the two of you, it's going to constantly exacerbate your pain. So it's really important to cultivate relationships that are filled with empathy, and they're, bidirectional, giving and receiving love. Now, everyone knows about oxytocin, and I'm not at all.
Well, why don't you go into it? Because I don't know that everybody knows the bonding hormone, and because oxytocin really can do some wonderful things. So why don't you Why don't you
Yes.
go into that a little
Sure.
more?
So I'm not like the leading expert on oxytocin, but oxytocin is a bonding hormone that it's produced during the childbirth. So the pain of childbirth helps us bond by creating the oxytocin when when we give birth, when we breastfeed, when we hold a baby, when we hug another person, and also during orgasm. So it's this hormone that it gives good feelings and it helps you bond towards someone. Now, what is so interesting is it's also involved in bone formation and in wound healing. So I think that's how and you probably know more about that than I do, but it's kind of how affection and deep committed relationships can really help people to stay healthy. And we know that people who are more socially isolated, it's been compared to the same thing as smoking 15 cigarettes a day to be socially isolated. And these are often self-reported cases of social isolation, which shows that, some people, they might have a lot of people around them, but they don't feel very highly connected. So it's not just the number of people, it's the quality of the people. Now, oxytocin does another interesting thing, is that when you're in a relationship and you feel like the relationship is in some sort of threat or danger, oxytocin rises again, which researchers were very surprised to see, because they thought it only was but what happens is they found that it makes somebody who feels like they're losing the grip on a pair bond and makes them sort of try harder. And that it's kind of bittersweet, but it just tells how the human body is designed or wired, whatever words you like to use, to really connect. And that it's so important that our bodies actually create a hormone that make us try to make that connection. I mean, I think that is just complete magic.
It really is. And connection, I see it all the time. People don't realize how important that is. And it's such a huge part of happiness, your relationships, and when you're connected, when you have a purpose, when you feel you're part of something. They've done all sorts of studies where, and I think in our society today, too often as people age, they're isolated, and it really reduces happiness. And happiness is correlates with everything. They've shown with studies with bone density that, when people are satisfied with their life, it increases their bone density, as well as really every aspect. So yes, isolation, but isn't that interesting that we have a bonding hormone? That it's great.
And there's
Yeah.
others that we don't know about. Vasopressin is something that is involved with bonding as well, but we know less about it. And it's also something that regulates our blood pressure, which is so fascinating to me, because that means we just haven't quite discovered how intricate social relationships are to every aspect of our metabolism and our physiology. I mean, bone formation, pain, wound healing, blood pressure, kidney function. It's just amazing. And it just shows we don't live in a vacuum. All of these relationships are important. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with nature, of course, in that I include spirituality and your relationship with God and our relationship with each other. And that's also, rejection has been shown to be processed in the same part of your brain where you feel physical pain. So it is so connected. And that's why we need to do everything we can to make every choice from a place of love. And that might sound like woo-woo to some people, but I think it's just bringing it back to more who we are as humans.
I think the exciting thing is, think about this. So you want to help your blood pressure, you want to help your bones, you want to just improve things. So go out with girlfriends. You can be with other people. Start loving, doing some self-love for yourself.
Yeah.
These are win-win. And I think what you really so beautifully shared is that it's going to help your health. And you've seen this with all the work that you have done and all the case reportings, and it's just incredible. So it's really great news, because this is something, who wouldn't want to do more of these wonderful practices? Take a walk in nature. They're all so, they're just so incredibly healing, plus they feel good, and they're just, as I said before, win-win. So
it is a win-win. And
yeah.
And the feel good part is kind of how nature tempts us. it's like nature seduces us by saying, you know, come smell this beautiful flower because it's so beautiful. Come closer. Come eat this beautiful food. Come speak to your beautiful friend. Like all of these things feel good. Now, things that we think feel good, like binging on a whole chocolate cake, you might think that tastes good, but immediately afterwards you think, oh no, what did I do? But that never happens from having tea with a friend or having a meaningful conversation or inviting a new person to a conversation or to going outside and spending a few moments just, you know, looking at the clouds.
I think that's such a good point, because that immediate high that you might get from eating the candy or eating the chocolate, once you start tuning in, because so many people, as we said, as you said so beautifully, so many people really are disconnected from their body. So they don't even feel the signs. But once you start connecting, no, that chocolate really doesn't feel great. And, you know, I was exhausted after I ate that. And my whole afternoon wasn't great. Whereas when they had something, you know, healthy, you know, and it also helps you make those decisions, because I mean, I like dark chocolate, but there's so many chocolate that is not healthy and so much sugar. And it's just fascinating when you do tune in how, because I used to be a sugar addict. I mean, serious sugar addict, serious. Like I would sneak, you know, those chips my husband bakes, like used to bake, and there was chips always in the house. So I would just sneak them, not tell anyone, buy a whole nother pack. I mean, that's how bad I was. But it's been a very long, I mean, over 10 years at least, that I've been completely off sugar. But my body told me, you know, it wasn't a good feeling. And maybe it's a temporary feeling, but once you get these things out of your system, you can feel the big difference. So
absolutely. One of my favorite moments with being a mother was when my daughter, she was 10 at the time, she's 12 now, I took them for ice cream, and about halfway through her scoop of ice cream, sorry, my cat jumped up here, she's like, oh Mom, I can't eat anymore. And I was like, what? She's like, oh, it's just too sweet, it just doesn't feel good. And I was like, so glad, because I could tell her, you know, no more. But
right.
Learning to feel it within, you know, we need to listen. And that's why that little exercise I shared, it sounds so simple, but you start to listen more to like, okay, no more.
I think that's great. I really do, because, you know, that's something we don't typically do. Well, Razi, you're doing something amazing. And by the time this is out, you have to tell us about your Love is Medicine project. This is beyond belief, everyone. So listen in.
I'm really excited. So the Love is Medicine project, it started as just me writing little blog posts, mostly for myself, about love and healing. And I had gone through this period a few years back where in a row, my sister died suddenly, and then my marriage ended, and then my father died. And so I had to really pull myself into all these beliefs I had about how to take good care of yourself physically to support emotional health instead of the other way around, right?
Oh, sure.
So I started researching and writing blogs and then podcasting. And then I just put together the Love is Medicine project, which is a 7-day docuseries, so 7 episodes beginning September 16th, that just take us on a journey of self-awareness, self-love, how to reconnect with those 3 areas that we talked about. And it's really a journey for myself. And I decided, why not bring others along with me?
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch it. And for everyone listening, we're going to have the links in the show notes so that you can be part of this as well. And if this comes out a day afterwards, there'll be replays, and there's, you know, there's so much information and so many wonderful experts. And I just can't wait, because you really put together an amazing, amazing collection of information that I think that's the beauty, though, as we've talked about, that these things which may seem, oh, that's nothing, it is a big deal. And start doing one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. I mean, do you agree, Razi, with that?
Oh, yes.
You can overwhelm yourself with doing good things. So just pick whatever fits and whatever feels good. Does it feel good in your body, and can you do it without feeling overwhelmed? And then just keep going and adding. And I promise you, right, Razi, that you'll be amazed at the changes in every aspect of your life. And that's what's fun. These are fun things to do, but they're incredibly, incredibly powerful. So, and also the website, Razi, what is that again, that people want?
loveismedicineproject.com.
Okay, and then there'll be the links and the website. If people want to get a hold of you after.
Yes, my website is naturalpath.net, or you can find me Razi Berry. That is my real name, Margie.
I know. When I first met you, I thought, no way that she could have such a cool name, but it really is good.
It's crazy.
Is there anything else that you want to share with everybody? Anything else that we left out?
I would just love for you to just take that time for yourself to go to loveismedicineproject.com. It's totally free to watch it, and just take that time to really discover your priorities and your needs so you can kind of better understand your own ability to heal.
Oh, that's great. And we'll have the links so you can just click them and be in. And great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm excited about this amazing project that you created and that it's, going to be shared with the world. So fantastic. So thank you so much, Razi. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. You're delightful, Margie. Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's talk as much as I have and have some powerful tools that you can put into your life right away. All the links that Razi mentioned are in the show notes, and the Love is Medicine project is happening right now. So go over to the show notes, click the link, and it's a free 7-day docuseries, and it's going to be great. I'm going to certainly be listening. So goodbye for now, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Happy Bones, Happy Life podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe on your favorite listening app so that you don't miss any amazing insights on upcoming episodes. And until next time, continue to live your best life ever. See you soon.